When I had folks that were afraid of failure, they were afraid of rejection. I said, you know what? If you don't take that chance, you are robbing those other people that you would interact with in this new role or in this new project of getting to know you, of getting a relationship with you, of just having the pleasure of being around you and working with you and doing business with you. So, as a real estate investor, you would be robbing the community of the chance to improve the quality of a home and provide really nice, affordable housing for someone who really needs it. And that's such a huge need in this country right now.
Welcome to another episode of Fun Flip Repeat. I am your private hard money lender, Joel Cadlick, and with me, your Texas private hard money lender, my brother, Ryan Cadlick. Today, we are going to be talking to you guys about low or bad credit and if you have bad or low credit. So you might be somebody who is in that boat and you might be in the situation where you're feeling like you might not be able to get into a deal or buy your first deal or buy your next deal or even get into the game. You might be seeing opportunities, seeing deals out there, looking at fix and flips. Maybe you're going to meetups and hearing about different strategies and opportunities and thinking, man, I would love to do some of these things, but I don't think anyone would want to give me cash, or the banks have already told me no, 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 time and time again. And I'm going to have to sit on the sidelines, go through a lengthy process of repairing my credit. Then I'll be able to step into this game that everyone's playing to be able to get into real estate. So we want to address that. We want to talk to you about that. We want to talk to you about how you could look at it a little differently and how we look at it a little differently as far as us as private money lenders. And we look at credit not just as a number, because we look at it differently and we will fund deals regardless of credit to a certain extent. So Ryan, what does that mean to you as far as the credit score? Like if someone says, hey, I have bad or low credit, would you say in return to that?
Yeah, thanks for asking, Joel, and thanks for having me back on. Stoked to talk to you again, man. I think about a couple of different things. So the key to any kind of investing is time in the game. And I shared about my background in the financial industry last time you had me on. And what we always used to tell our
Mm-hmm.
clients was it's not about trying to time the market, it's about time in the market. Right. So the longer you wait to get in the game, it's to your disadvantage. So don't let those things hold you back. And I do think that you hit on something important. Maybe you've tried multiple times and other people have told you no, and fear of rejection is a real thing, and that's a powerful motivator. And so what I would say was you just need to find the right people with the right mindset who are going to look at the deal with you in a different set of criteria than the traditional brick and mortar bank sets of criteria, right? They want that credit score, and that means almost everything to them. With a private money lender like us, we care about more intricate details like who you are as a person, being able to shake your hand, being able to walk the property with you, building rapport and
Right.
relationship with you, right? If we can trust each
Right.
other and we can have good communication and the deal makes sense, we probably have something there, even if you have a low credit score.
Yeah, 100%. And, specifically, personally, I'm an investor, and I'm not just a lender lending money. I'm an investor and, I view it as a partnership. So let's go into this deal together. Let's put some money into this deal. Let's see it happen. Let's see it come to life. We have vested interest in this. We want to see it succeed. Let's align with your growth goals and do it, but also to that point, like, um, maybe you do have good credit, um, and a bank is a good option for you. That's good too. I think that's not a bad option. We're not saying that at all, but to your point, Ryan, it's you're not just a number, right? There's a person behind the number. So if it's, there might be a criteria with the bank where it's, hey, 700 or less, we won't talk to you. Well, hey, if it's 600, tell us why. You don't have to get super personal or raw with it, but like, hey, just, give us an explanation. Like, hey, can you shed a little detail on that? Like what happened? We understand life happens and we would want to know why. Like, again, we're approaching this like a partnership. So we want to see some established trust there. And the more you can be open and honest during the very beginning, right, throughout the entire process, the more successful the project's going to be from the very beginning throughout the entirety of the process and then for future projects. And with honesty transparency, the money will follow and you will have no problem getting access to capital. And you can just take the credit score, crumple it up, or whatever you have to do, write it on a piece of paper and throw it in a trash bin because it's a non-factor, right? It's an absolute non-factor if you can approach it from a relational standpoint. And like guys like me and Ryan in Texas, reach out to him. Me in Oklahoma, reach out to me. We'll do business with you 100%. And we have. And, I'm just curious, like, do you have any stories that maybe recently, Ryan, that you could share about someone who might not have had the best credit that, we would have or have done business with?
Yeah. No, it's funny that you asked that because, I was just on a couple of weeks ago, we were announcing that we were launching the Texas market, right? So the Texas market is still new for fixed lending. So what am I doing with most of my time right now? I'm out there, right? I'm shaking hands with people. I'm at the meetups, meeting with investors to hopefully set up that follow-up time to sit over coffee or lunch and get to know each other. And that's where we can break down those traditional barriers right then and there and immediately start to build trust. And so that's exactly what happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I met a gentleman at a investor meetup, and he had been doing flips years and years ago in the Midwest and was working a contractor job for many years. That work dried up, and he wants to get back in the game. So he found a business partner. We sat down, we had lunch together, and one of the guys doesn't have great credit. So we had a conversation about that. And I think that there was maybe a little hesitation initially, but as soon as we started to peel back the layers of the onion
Mm.
on that story, it became super clear that these guys were high character, high integrity individuals. And so, to your point, I'm ready to crumple up a low credit score because, it turns out, hey, a family member got sick and he had to step
Mm.
away from his day to day to take care of them. And that meant a personal financial hit and a personal financial setback. And yet he was willing to do that to do what's right to take care of his family. So when we're interacting with people who are displaying, hey, I'm going to do the right thing, that's really what matters, right? And so we're in negotiations right now. As soon as they get their first property under contract, like we're ready to fund that and do a deal with them because these are high character, high integrity individuals.
Yeah, and I think, putting ourselves in in the investor's shoes too, if we flip the script, it's like just making that meeting and being vulnerable enough to like have that conversation and explain speaks volumes, right? Because that is difficult, and depending on the personality or the person, like people don't necessarily just want to open up and share some of those details. Just being able to do that says a lot, and that just sets the stage of like, hey, this could be a really good working relationship from the beginning to like many and more deals. And yeah, that's exactly how you get access to what you need, which I think is good in a good and healthy way, of course. So no, I love that you shared that, Ryan. And we have many stories like that, and I think that's absolutely right. So what else,
Yeah,
man?
and I
So
think it goes
one
both
thing that
ways
I
too. Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it goes
let's
both ways too. Like, we're not going to ask you to open up and be a closed book over here, right? Because you said we're partners, right? We're not just your lender. We've got our skin in the game and the deal with you, right? And so, what I'm going to bring to the table when we sit down and we talk is I'm an open book too. And so, I want that transparency to be both ways so that there really is two-way trust in that relationship. And we're looking to build, a partnership that's going to be meaningful, that's going to be a long-term thing where there's a lot of value for you as the investor, for us as the lender, and ultimately for the communities that we live in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, just keep that in mind. I mean, that's a huge thing for us. So, I mean, definitely never let that bad or low credit be a factor when you're out there looking at a deal or wanting to invest in real estate, or maybe you're at those meetups or getting educated on real estate or reading the books and all that stuff. Like, definitely reach out to a local private hard money lender. Let them know what you got going on. Fill them in on your story. And just be honest and transparent during the entire process. And that is the absolute best thing you could possibly do. And one thing I would say, like, absolutely don't do if you can help it. Well, I'm just going to say, just don't do this, is don't say, hey, yes, I have a 700 credit score. Even if you don't know it, then just say, I don't know it. Don't just say I have a 700 or a 650, or don't even say anything. Just say I don't know it if you don't know it. And if you have a, 680, don't say you have a 720. Just tell them what your credit score is It's not that big of a deal. You don't have to inflate it. Just be honest with it. There's no reason to for any reason, even if you're doing it by accident, or you thought, oh, last month it was this, or 6 months ago it was that, you can even say that. You just don't want it. And I'm just offering this as helpful advice, right? If it was 6 months ago that you saw your credit score, maybe you lead with that. Hey, 6 months ago it was this, but it might have changed. You might lead with that, because if it's different, largely, you don't want to seed any doubt to the person that they might interpret that differently. So that's just some advice I would offer, just to kind of safeguard yourself, depending on the person you're interacting with who might interpret that way. So you want to think about that, right? You want to think about each party and how to deliver information to be respectful and as openly and honestly as possible. So yeah, I think that's great.
Hey, Joel,
Any
one
other?
thing I would add to that,
Yeah.
one thing I would add to that is just to, you know, piggyback off of your point there. So when you're being honest about it, again, like I know that there is a very legitimate, real fear of rejection, and I completely understand that. That's a normal human emotion. But if they, whoever you're talking to and you're looking for that funding, if they are going to immediately disqualify you based on a number, you probably don't want to do business with them. You want to be doing business with someone who's going to look at you holistically as a person and that relationship
Right.
in a meaningful sort of two-way street like I was talking about. So just be upfront and be honest, right? And you'll know right away based on how that person or that organization responds if they're worth your time, if they're worth doing business with from your perspective as the investor as well.
Right. Absolutely. And here's a tip too, and here's a trick that you could use. So let's say you have bad credit. Let's say it's like real bad, and that's okay, right? We're not going to say that, we're not credit shaming anybody here at all. Let's just say it's really bad. Well, great. Let's find a partner. Maybe you have a business partner, maybe you have a friend, maybe you have whoever, somebody you very much trust. Let's just make sure it's a really good relationship. I'm not giving any legal or professional advice here. I'm just saying you can use somebody who has a good credit score to enter into a deal with. We see this all the time as well, as long as it's healthy and it's a win-win as well. But you can use somebody else's credit score to go into a deal with as well. So that is another way to do it. So again, don't let that credit score hinder you, even if it's like something that is a complete obstacle that you don't think you can overcome. That is a complete no. But that would be like absolute secondary. I think first tier is just like have those conversations of what everything we've been talking about. That is, I would say 99% can be overcome just by having the conversation. So I think that's easy peasy lemon squeezy, as we would say, to handle something like that. So don't let that hold you guys back. So yeah. Any last minute thoughts before we zip out of here, Rye?
Yeah, I think the last thing I would say is advice that I used to give my team when I was leading a team in the operations world. Um, when you are sitting there and you're mulling over this whole thing, right? And you're dealing with some of that imposter syndrome, or you're dealing with some of that, and am I going to get funding? Is my credit score too low? What are they going to think? I would challenge you as the investor to think about it differently and think about it from a different perspective. When I had folks that were afraid of failure, they were afraid of rejection, I said, you know what? If you don't take that chance, you are robbing those other people that you would interact with in this new role or in this new project of getting to know you, of getting a relationship with you, of just having the pleasure of being around you and working with you and doing business with you. So as a real estate investor, right, you are going to be robbing a good private lender of getting to know you. You would be robbing the community of the chance to improve the quality of a home and provide really nice affordable housing for someone who really needs it. And that's such a huge need in this country right now. So if you're looking at a deal and you're still on the fence and it's in the DFW area, call me. If you're looking at a deal in Tulsa, Oklahoma City, call Joel. Don't rob your community and those around you the opportunity to interact with you, because you have a lot to bring to the table and you have a lot to offer.
Bam. I love it, man. That's awesome. So cool. Well, thank you guys so much. There's been another episode of Fun Flip Repeat. We will catch you next time.